the rest of the show. But what is a reasonable expectation this year, specifically for Geno Smith, a guy that we don't talk even enough about here, which is sort of crazy? What's a reasonable expectation for Geno this year?
I think he's going to be better. I think a lot of people are like, okay, the clock's going to strike 12 and, the pumpkin carriage is going to show up. But why? Like, what makes you think that? They went out and got Jackson Smith and Jigba. They added Zach Charbonnet. The offensive line should be better with more experience that those young guys got last year. You've got a defense that can get hands on the ball and to get more turnovers, to get shorter fields, to get an additional possession or two a game by taking the ball away. So why should Geno be worse? I honestly think he's going to be better. Seattle, to me, is a team that no one's talking about that's just laying there like the lioness, getting ready to pounce while all the other male lions are roaring and creating all this ruckus. But they're the ones who are going to get the kill. And I just think Geno is going to be better. And is he going to be a 4,500-yard passing guy? No, that's not what the Seahawks do. But I think he's going to be more efficient. I think they'll hit more big plays. And again, I think this offense could be dangerous.
The NFL does not live in the world of college football with AP polls and coaches polls and committees that rank teams, though before the season there often is power polls. And if you look around them, to your point, it's Philly, it's San Francisco, it's Dallas. Most of those three are atop the top 10 in the NFC or in the NFL. After those three, lay out the NFC for me, Steve. Where would you put Seattle with New Orleans, Detroit, who we'll see on Thursday? Where do they stack in that next tier down?
I think they're fourth. I would agree with those top three teams. San Francisco, Dallas, Philly, right? They've got quarterbacks for the most part, and they've got good defenses. But I think Seattle is right there. We saw what they did last year. Head-to-head against San Francisco was kind of their Achilles heel. But there were so many young players, and if they can keep their egos in check, and we know Pete Carroll is very good with these young players and building them up and keeping them on edge and bringing in competition to keep that little insecurity in there. Mm-hmm. I think they're right there because New Orleans, their defense, of course, is its backbone. But offensively, can they be consistent? There's a lot of ifs there. If Derek Carr can work in, if Michael Thomas can stay healthy, right? There's ifs. Detroit love their offense. They're going to put up points. They're going to hang 30, 35 on a lot of teams. But it's if their run defense can be better and if they can avoid the big play and get some takeaways. So to me, there's fewer ifs with Seattle than there are with most of the other teams. Even Minnesota, a team that won 13 games last year, they lost a lot of defensive personnel. There's just too many ifs with other teams. I think Seattle, I don't even know if there's really an if you've been paying attention to them.
Okay. I like this game of ifs. So let me give you a huge game of if right here. If Chris Jones continues to hold out and says, I am not playing another down for the Chiefs until you pay me or you trade me. If Chris Jones is on the trade market, if Chris Jones does not get a new contract, if Chris Jones is truly available, could the Seahawks be a fit?
Ooh. I haven't thought of that one.
Okay, well, let me play you one cut. Let me play as you ponder that. We're going to talk about this a little later in our show, but just ponder that for a second and listen to John Schneider yesterday, GM of the Seahawks, at a little press conference, cut number 8 here, Salky, talking about the youth of their roster and what it presents.
No, not necessarily. It's not necessarily a target, but you have to try to balance your salary cap and how you're paying people at different positions, and so obviously when you have younger players, it's a smaller salary, so you have to try to be smart so you can, Ted Thompson would always say, keep your powder dry towards the end of the season so you have enough cap room and or space and cash to work with towards the end of the season. For us, primarily cap space as we move forward here.
So he talked end of season. What if here at the beginning of this season, as I said, if Chris Jones just says, I'm done in Kansas City, you're not paying me, I'm not playing?
First off, there'll be a market, and Seattle just kind of looking at at how they could use him, right? You know, Jones has played primarily on the edge the past couple of years, but Seattle could use him kind of at that hybrid 5 technique, hybrid 6 and 7 technique of what they do defensively. It would make a lot of sense. It would make a lot of sense, you know, because this game of chicken that Chris Jones and the Chiefs are playing is, to me, is very intriguing, far more intriguing than Nick Bosa and the Niners. I think they get that done pretty soon. But wow, I mean, he's somebody who could come in and just really, I don't want to say I don't like be the guy that gets him over the hump, but he could be such an additional piece because what they've done in the secondary, right? They've got the players that makes a quarterback, especially in these quick timing offenses, pat the ball a little bit longer because they got guys who can cover. And that's where Chris Jones could come in and really be a game wrecker.